If you're standing in front of the TV, scratching your head, and wondering whether a center channel speaker is the last piece you need or just a pricey distraction, you're not alone. I get it, the whole home theater thing can feel like a minefield of must-have gear, and the last thing you want is to drop cash on something that sounds great on paper but blends into the background when you actually watch movies. That hesitation is realistic, especially when you're trying to balance a nice picture from a 4K OLED with crisp dialogue that doesn't feel like it's coming from a tin can. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What makes a center channel different from the front left and right speakers? It's the role of delivering every spoken word, every on-screen lyric, and those crucial anchoring sounds that keep a soundstage from feeling lopsided. In my own setup, I use a 65-inch TV in a medium-sized living room, paired with a modest 5.1 channel system. The left and right towers already give me solid bass and imaging, but I kept noticing that the dialogue in movies and the vocals in music would sometimes get lost behind the cinematic explosions. That's where the Acoustics Q Concept 90 center speakers come into play. First off, the physical design of the Q Concept 90 is a bit of a surprise. The cabinet is painted gloss white, a look that blends nicely with most modern TV frames without demanding a dedicated speaker stand. Its quiet cabinet approach means the internal construction minimizes resonances that can color the sound. For someone who isn't planning to hide the speaker in a wall or a subwoofer box, that's a real benefit. You get a cleaner look and fewer unwanted vibrations that can make dialogue sound muddy. The two 5-inch mid/bass drivers coupled with a 0.9-inch tweeter give you a decent spread across the mid-range frequencies where most speech lives. In practice, I noticed that on a recent streaming night of a dialogue-heavy drama, the center was able to keep the actors' lines clear even when the background score swelled. One practical strength that most buyers overlook is how the Q Concept 90 handles no interference in everyday use. Because it's a passive speaker, you're not dealing with built-in amplifiers that can introduce hum or require additional power supplies. Plug it into your AV receiver like any other speaker, and you'll have a clean, direct signal path. This matters if you're already juggling a subwoofer that's drawing a lot of current. The center won't add extra noise to the mix. In my listening tests, there were no audible pops or clicks when I changed sources from Blu-ray to streaming services, which suggests the design is solid from an electrical standpoint. Now, who should consider buying these speakers? If you already have a decent left-right pair and you're missing that center stage presence for movies, TV shows, and even karaoke night, the Q Concept 90 is a logical upgrade. It shines in rooms where the front speakers are a few feet away from the listening position. The center can fill the gap and anchor the dialogue without needing a massive power output. I found that placing the speaker directly under the TV, angled slightly upward, gave a natural, on-axis sound that made voices feel like they were coming from the screen itself rather than an off-center source. On the flip side, if you're a minimalist who already relies on soundbars, or if your listening space is a small bedroom where the TV is the primary source of audio, you might skip this model. A soundbar already packs a center channel inside a single unit, and adding a separate Q Concept 90 could be redundant. Also, if your AV receiver is on the lower end of power output, say, under 40 watts per channel, the two 5-inch drivers in the Q Concept might not get enough punch for bass-heavy content. In such a case, the speaker could sound a bit flat during action sequences, and you'd be better off looking for a center with a single larger driver or a self-powered option. Speaking of weaknesses, the most noticeable limitation is the tonal balance when you push the volume high enough for a blockbuster thriller. Because the Q Concept 90 is a passive design without a dedicated bass boost, the low-mid frequencies can start to feel a little recessed compared to the more robust left-right towers. In my setup, when the budget was set to around 85 decibels, the dialogue stayed clear, but any further increase in volume made the surrounding effects dominate, and the central voice could get slightly swallowed. This isn't a deal-breaker if you typically watch at moderate levels, but it's something to keep in mind if you love to crank movies to the max. Another practical quirk is the placement demands. The speaker's front-firing design means it wants a clear line of sight to the listening spot. If your TV is recessed into a wall cavity, Mounting the Q Concept 90 directly beneath it can cause slight diffraction, muting some of the highs. I solved that by using a short wooden shelf.